principles with one another.
Economic development gets impaired. We must embrace the value of hard work, Madam Speaker, at personal level, organizational and national levels. May I speak, Madam Speaker, about my experience? From our own experience, personal experience, I'm convinced that doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter your circumstances. Work, and more work delivers results.
President Hichilema says love and crime cannot be mixed, calling on Zambians to love each other in order to overcome all forms of violence and criminalities, including corruption.
Separate that from criminality, Madam Speaker. The two are separate. You can't commit crimes and say because there is love in the house, then I'll go scot-free. The two, Madam Speaker, are separate. They are different. Madam Speaker, our households, our communities, and our nation will be better off if we lead our lives with love for one another.
The President says government is and remain committed to upholding the values of Zambia as a democracy whose masters are the people.
Our administration is committed to creating a level playing field where democracy can thrive, creating an environment in which political actors can freely compete on ideas, convictions, and, as I said, service.
Mr. Hichilema since assured Zambians that no matter the challenges will be realized. Hichilema of these assurances and many other promises the President has made to the Zambians. For Muvi TV News, I'm Afias Kaptula in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, President Hichilema says it is wrong for suspected corrupt individuals to label themselves as victims, an effort to gain public sympathy when true victims are vulnerable Zambians. Well, the President rather says, despite claims of persecution by some individuals facing corrupt charges, government will not falter but will be patient and ensure that everyone who was involved in the act is brought to book. He has furthermore encouraged individuals who engaged in corruption to voluntarily come forward and pay back public resources they acquired.
For the corrupt to deliberately and intentionally label themselves as victims in the fight against corruption, so as to gain sympathy from the public. We encourage those who engage in corruption, and there are many, to voluntarily come forward and pay back to society what they took away. Rather than parroting themselves as victims, Madam Speaker, it is wise to do so than to wait for the inevitable, which is prosecution and the resultant consequences. We must work hard and be firm against unethical conduct in both private and public lives. And Madam Speaker, what I said about access, absolutely, about coming forward, is within. Well, if you don't come forward, a decision has been taken to name and shame, and it will happen. But that's not our intent. The intent is to recover.
No Corporation Stanley Kakubo has disclosed that the chartered plane that evacuated 79 Zambian nationals from Poland costed government €. The Kapiri lawmaker stated more students who are quarantined upon arriving have since been reunited with their families, and Mr. Kakubo adds, as at now, most of the students who were unable to move from their various localities in Ukraine due to the hostile conditions have made it to Poland.
The cost of the aircraft that's carried, it costed the Zambian government in excess of €100,000. I'm also pleased to mention that your government has fulfilled this commitment to bring our children back home safely to Ukraine, the majority of whom are students that country. And on Tuesday, 8th March 2022, 79 of our students arrived safely here in Lusaka aboard a government chartered plane. These children were screened upon arrival by our health personnel. The majority of the students have since been reunited with their families. For the few that live outside Lusaka, arrangements are being made and will soon be finalized to ensure their respective travel to the different towns. You may recall that 12 students from the 14 that were located in Sumi were unable to leave that city because of the high risk and unsafe environment. They therefore did not travel with the team that arrived on Tuesday. The authorities in Ukraine, on both parties, created a humanitarian corridor that we used to ensure the safety of the team. They have exited Sumi safely, and they have also exited the Republic of Ukraine safely. 12 of these students are in Warsaw, awaiting evacuation by the Zambian government back to Zambia, while 2 of our students, out of their own will, have opted to remain in Europe with friends and family.
Opposition Golden Party of Zambia President Jackson Zilavwe says reports revealing the critical shortage of essential drugs both in urban and rural areas should worry every right-thinking member of society. Mr. that most public hospitals and clinics have now turned into consultancy facilities where patients queue for long hours only to be given a prescription. The opposition leader further notes with more than 65% Zambians living in extreme poverty or below $2 per day, it is extremely unethical for government through public health facilities to add to their misery. We get to the next story. Lusaka High Court Judge Lamek Mwale has set 1st April 2022 as the date for defense in a matter in which the former National Democratic Congress Party leader Chimba Kambwili is facing charges of defamation of the president. This was after the defense informed the court that they want to harmonize with their client and also the 2 witnesses who will testify in the matter. In this matter, Kambwili is facing 1 count of defamation of the president and was found with a case to answer in April 2021. It is alleged that Kambwili, between 26th and 27th August 2019, with intent to bring the president's name into hatred, ridicule or contempt, published insulting matter by word of mouth in a video that circulated on social media, where he was allegedly calling then-President Edgar Lungu a dog from Chawama. And when the matter came up before Magistrate Lamek Mwale Friday morning, the defense informed the court that they will be calling 2 witnesses from Lapola province to testify in the matter. A 32-year-old man of Mansa district has committed suicide after having a marital dispute. The deceased, identified as Evans Chansa, aged 32, his wife March 2022 around 01 hours by a resident of Mibenge village. Chief Mibenge's chiefdom believe facts that the couple had planted maize and agreed to use the money together, but the husband started selling the maize without the wife's knowledge and was using the money for beer drinking, which made the wife angry and chased the husband, who later decided to kill himself. And another man of Kawambwa, identified as Mishe Kaunda, aged 33, also committed suicide on Wednesday this week. Meanwhile, a police officer who shot himself while on duty has been put to rest today.
Confirm that this morning we received a case of suicide involving Mr. Evans Chansa, aged 32 years, was married to Florence Mwewa of village Livenge, Chief Muvi, District Mansa, that her husband was found dead lying in the maize/cassava field. The two had a marital dispute, that when they were planting their crops early this year, they promised that after the maize and the cassava was ready, they were going to sell the produce to the markets and use the money for their family. But unfortunately, it's like maize for the two couples is ready, and the husband started plucking or rather harvesting maize from the field, and in the process he went to sell and realized the money is for beer drinking. This made the wife very, very angry and chased him from their house. The husband left the house and went to the maize field, where he got a tie and committed suicide in the maize field, where cassava was also there. This morning, when the wife went to the field, only to discover the husband hanging dead. It's really a very unfortunate incident. I wish to state that couples in this society should be able to learn to dialogue. Killing oneself is not an answer. It only brings.
We take a set of commercials. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
They'll play a high press to force the mistakes.
They'll dominate the aerial ball. They too tall. We will handle the pressure and smash them on the break.
The number 9 has scored in their last 5 games.
The passing will be quick, decisive, precisely. There will be drama in the dying minutes. This match will mean more than 3 points.
They will have the home ground advantage. This is why I bet.
This is why I bet. This is why I bet. Betway.
We are delighted to add Lubumbashi and Goma to our network. Welcome aboard Rwandair, Africa's safest airline that will connect you to more than 24 destinations throughout the network.
Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Welcome back. Let's get to more news stories. The report on land illegalities in Lusaka has not been released. More than 1 year and 6 months since the Lusaka City Council, LCC, was suspended by then Minister of Local Government and Housing, Dr. Charles Banda, in July 2020. Appearing before the Parliamentary Committee on Local Government Accounts for Auditor General's report for the year 2022, Wednesday, LCC Town Clerk Alex Mwansa says the Council could not state interventions it had made to address alleged land illegalities due to the absence of the report. This is despite a much publicized 3-month suspension of LCC alongside the Kitwe City Council to address illegalities in land allocation by Dr. Banda and then Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Jean Kapata.
Illegal allocation of land. And the reason for the query, Lusaka City Council was suspended by the Minister of Local Government via Statutory Instrument number 66 of 2020, which was published in the Gazette, dated 31st July 2020. Further to the suspension, an administrator was appointed of the council. The council suspended included the mayor and all councillors. Action taken, the council wishes to state that it was awaiting communication of the recommendation from the ministry. The remedial measure is that the Council is waiting for guidance on the outcome of the investigations. Since the recommendations were not shared with the Council will ensure that it complies with all the provisions of.
A concerned citizen, Thomas Sipalo, popularly known as Difficulty, has disclosed the 1-year 5 months baby who was detained together with her mother at North Gate Police Post last week had shown some signs of malaria. Mr. Sipalo says he and other stakeholders working together will ensure the baby is compensated for unlawfully detained close to 7 days. He has demanded the law should be applied fairly and equally to all Zambians regardless of their standing in society.
Maybe as of yesterday, I was told that she had a bit of a flu and everything. I'm sure maybe as a result of being exposed from the cold. Ngani ya mwana, here I'm emphasizing the child need to be compensated accordingly. Even the woman also. Because that lady spent more than the stipulated time by law. And the president is too categorical on that. The child need to be compensated. Rights need to be respected. So, like the case of that, yes, I've heard that some officers have been transferred, but that's, look, if she was detained for more than 6 days, which is way above what the law stipulates, it means her rights were stepped on. Not only her, let's look at the baby as well. The baby was exposed to the cold, the baby was there for 6 solid days. What should be done to the baby? The baby need to be compensated just like the way others have been compensated. We just heard about, is it last month or so, where the wives to Chief Mukuni were compensated because they were unlawfully detained for 4 days and each was given 500,000 kwacha. Even that baby needs to be compensated because the baby spent 6 days in detention. You know, the environment which is so filthy, which is a health hazard to the baby. So what we need now, since the police officers have been removed, taikoses hapa mani tufunika tikosese boma nayo ifunika ujamwana ujenze msero anankalamo 6 days afunika na hivyo mpase kwa something ngati wakuru wanankalamo 4 days wakazi wa mfumu wanapasa 500 pini umozi. What about mwana naye ujamwana azive kuti chamena nalongewela nichi, so that the police also should learn. Otherwise, as I stand, I'm going to follow up that issue. Tizai kosesa ngati kuliko wenangu all around the country who have been locked up for more than 48 hours. Come out in the open. Don't be scared. Police officers are civil servants who are working for us. So if they are trying to abuse our rights, they are supposed to, they lock you up more than the stipulated time of 48 hours. You've got all the rights to approach them or to sue them. Let's follow the law. Let's follow what the president is saying, and let's respect each one's.
The National Biosafety foods and feed products containing genetically modified organisms, GMOs, worth over 136,000 kwacha. The goods were placed on the market without documentation from the authority. NBA Communications Officer Sandra Lombe explains during the surveillance, sport and compliance checks, the goods discovered and the seized on site were GMO products from ShopRite Kapiu in Poshi, Kabwe District of Central Province Chongwe Waterfalls, and Choppies Mumbwa for failure to produce the required permits. She says the seized products include dog food, spices, soups and cubes of various flavors.
Feed products from ShopRite and Choppies from Central and Lusaka provinces. These were seized during our sport compliance checks and surveillance. We did discover that these two superstores were trading in products that were not being permitted by the authority. Their products are worth more than 136,000. For ShopRite, they claim they have permits, so we've given them an ultimatum for them to produce that permit. For Choppies, because they admitted not having the permits, we have seized those products and we will soon destroy them. We are also calling on the distributors, suppliers and retailers to ensure that they have the valid permits and produce them when our inspectors.
Small-scale milk farmers in Monze district have continued losing their milk produce due to lack of processing plants in the area. Japhet Mwemba, a small-scale milk farmer, says lack of a local processing plant and storage tanks for milk is a major contributor to the loss. He has told Muvi TV News the district has the potential to produce sufficient milk, but it needs increased investment in daily infrastructure. He says inefficiency by some commercial dairy buyers is hindering the growth of dairy farming and in turn affecting the area.
So the general farmers imupano waingaira bisoabu so kolumba utifumeni itu kwe utima kula amwi aitu pema kula imapati uje difama tano gumekite kambo poti janina awu janya mkugohe utola wana mwigola ujana nsi ujana bupoli buteke tekukola mugati muzisi olumeza janika uti awo jati umina toma farmers maningi kalikuwa mbehanchome uhumende buti itwere makula abole makati alimi bola yaro bola mugupa the price yati nganya mani yali umana ni kwata samsi bona bazimara batweta 80 kwata oludwa janika uti kwa boila mani ono sarumbo habuti uhumende bia ibole iranganya mugupa gono olo kugawa bufumu gupa uhumende baramba uti irege yugo tamu out country kibora ura mugupa mudisi mu Zambia mu
at least the government almost 3,500, which means physical capacity for a people is 2,500. The rest here was farmers, it is a loss to cooperative. Because of the capacity we have.
Use the price of about 8 kwacha or less. The reason being that the processors, the milk processors, are importing powdered milk. So we want to aid the government to regulate the importation of powdered milk so that we can give energy to the small-scale dairy farmers. If we don't do that here in this country, Zambia, then our dairy industry, it is not going to grow. Our dairy farmers are not going to grow. Already, the milk production per liter, it is more expensive than the amount of the liter a farmer is getting here in this country. So let me urge the government that please regulate the importation of powdered milk, regulate as well the importation of UHT milk from South Africa, regulate the importation of...
We take another set of commercials. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
Anyone can get lucky.
Istana ya Afrika ya kupende chalo akamwana kanono nomsepela kwikala chapamo kulibe kumunzi kulibe mutauni kumatero.
The Zambia Statistics Agency will this year conduct the census across the country. The census aims to count people in households, rural and urban, hospitals, military, police and correctional facilities. This numbering will extend to hotels, farms, as well as high-density areas with different families sharing a house and those in transitory locations. Every person in the country matters and should be counted because the census will benefit all, from migrants, refugees and street children, homeless people, the young and the old people, as well as persons with disabilities. Everyone counts. This message is brought to you by the Zambia Statistics Agency.
Welcome back. Southern Africa Alcohol Policy Alliance is concerned with the increase in alcohol abuse in Zambia. Speaking during a two-day workshop held in Mansa for civic leaders attended by the Mansa Mayor, Southern Africa Alcohol Policy Alliance President Philip Chiponda says youths should not engage in alcohol abuse, but they should instead involve themselves in activities meant to improve their livelihood. And the Ward Councillor Alex Muchinka says it is unfortunate to see how bar owners are operating illegally and even sending their children in bars to either buy beer for them and some drinking. And Mansa Mayor Njiko Musuku has called on everyone to get involved in the fight against alcohol abuse in the district.
Shapa Zambia, in partnership with the government of the Republic of Zambia and other stakeholders, have held a two-day workshop in Mansa district with all the 20 councillors and the mayor of Mansa in order to raise awareness among civic leaders for them to understand the alcohol policy. Jonas Ngulube from Southern Africa, Co-Policy Alliance Technical Advisor, says there is need for civic leaders to be making decisions with an informed mind.
While the alcohol industry is expanding businesses in other places, our work is also to ensure that our people are balanced informed, so that when they are making decisions, they are decisions based on knowledge.
And Philip Chimponda, who is the regional president for Southern Africa Alcohol Policy, notes that he is hopeful that the councillors will sensitize their communities over the dangers of alcohol abuse.
The knowledge they have acquired is going to be used effectively to make sure that the communities where they are gatekeepers, first of all, are safe, that there is the regulation of alcohol controls, and that the people in these communities will be safe as a result of this training. So we are anticipating that they go around, sensitize their people.
And Mansa Mayor Njiko Msuku has pledged his support to the program.
Our commitment is that the more we learn, the more we work and improve the welfare of our people. So the information that we keep receiving from you, we commit that we're going to implement it, because it's pointless to acquire knowledge and fail to implement it. We call upon everyone in the district to join hands, that we see how best we can regulate alcohol consumption.
Meanwhile, some councillors had this to say over the program.
8 years, 10 years, they are selling water, they are selling different commodities at the market. So we should come up with a policy where we restrict people who should come to the market and trade. Maybe that way we will finish this cause. Which
in our community, indeed, it is true that most of people, they have little knowledge about the habits of alcohol. They say different alcohols and they are licensed one. So we need to sensitize them, we teach them.
Helen Chisha reporting for Muvi TV News in Mansa.
And dollar-based good governance activist Chembo Hamwemba has appealed to government to seriously transform the tourism sector from foreign dependency to local. Mr. Chembo says, having seen how natural disasters such as COVID-19 have hit the globe drastically, it is important for government to consider investing in local tourism. In an interview, Mr. Chembo observed if the country does not embrace local tourism, it will be difficult for the sector to flourish, looking at other unforeseen challenges coming, such as wars. He adds that the sector has the capacity to raise enough revenue which can be channeled to the National Treasury for development. Mr. Chembo has since urged government to sensitize its citizens to embrace local tourism.
Okay. I just want to earnestly appeal to government to seriously look at transforming the tourism sector from foreign dependence tourism to local tourism. You know, this is following a number of changes that we have seen in the tourism sector, especially when the world was hit, drastically with the COVID-19 pandemic. Now we're seeing a a lot of global challenges. We have some wars in Ukraine and everything. So I think we're going to have a challenge with foreign tourism. Hence the need for government to seriously and quickly consider, having a lot of transformations in the tourism sector locally here to encourage, earnings from that sector.
With that tourism note, we take our last and final break. We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned.
Fairview University College is enrolling students for the January-April 2022 intake in the following: School of Education, Bachelor of Education in Early Childhood Education, Bachelor of Education in Primary Education, Bachelor of Education in Secondary Education, Bachelor of Education in Special Education, Diploma in Early Childhood Education, Diploma in Primary Education, Diploma in Secondary Education, Diploma in Special Education, Certificate in Early Childhood Education, School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Diploma in Public Relations, School of Hotel and Tourism, Diploma in Food and Production, Diploma in Front Office, Diploma in Food and Beverages Management, Diploma in Hospitality and Events Management, and Diploma in Sales and Marketing. For more information, visit us at Regent College along Kwazi Road or the North Mid Campus at plot number 11 Luamba Road, Lusaka, or call us on 0955 787114 or 0966 787114 or 0977 787114. Fairview University College. We aim at excellence.
Istana ya Afrika ya kupendezalo akamwana kanono nomsepela kwikala chapamo kulibe kumunzi kulibe mutauni kumatero aliyense afunika.
The Zambia Statistics Agency will this year conduct the census across the country. The census aims to count people in households, rural and urban, hospitals, military, police and correctional facilities. This numbering will extend to hotels, farms, as well as high-density areas with different families sharing a house and those in transitory locations. Every person in the country matters and should be counted because the census will benefit all, from migrants, refugees and street children, homeless people, the young and the old people, as well as persons with disabilities. Everyone counts. This message is brought to you by the Zambia Statistics Agency.
We are delighted to add Lubumbashi-Ngoma to our network. Welcome aboard Rwandair, Africa's safest airline that will connect you to more than 24 destinations throughout the network.
Rwandair, fly the dream of Africa.
Welcome back. Private sector enhancement expert Ellen Makinishi has been warned the economic diversification of the country, which has remained a challenge for most developing countries, worse of more countries whose economies are small, landlocked, and dominated by primary commodity dependence. She says in the wake of slowing economic growth, it is imperative for Zambia to increase the number of quality jobs. Ms. Makinashi says in the agriculture sector, government should therefore enhance interventions in promoting value-adding agribusiness and agro-processing to connect more Zambians, especially the young, rural, and poor, to jobs through value chains.
The tax platform urges government to pave the way for economic diversification and competitiveness in Zambia. Diversification helps manage volatility and provides for a more stable path for equitable growth and development. For a country like Zambia that is landlocked and predominantly dependent on primary commodities, this can help the country to move to more diverse production and trade structures. Even in the face of globalization, technological change helps create opportunities that can shift resources to sectors such as agriculture, to higher productivity activities and services, as well as manufacturing that could ultimately lead to structural transformation. In harnessing the agenda of diversification for sustainable and inclusive growth, we cannot downplay the importance of value addition to strengthen forward and backward linkages amongst agriculture, manufacturing and services.
Youth Changing the Mindset organization, YCMO, has expressed the worry over escalating number of teenage pregnancies in the country, especially in the rural areas. Organization Executive Director Comfort Mwansa has attributed this to the lack of information about sexual and reproductive health and rights, inadequate access services tailored to young people. Mr. Mwanza has since called on government, chiefs, parents, church leaders, as well as civil societies and other stakeholders to come on board and work together towards the fight against teenage pregnancies.
Teenage pregnancy continues to be one of the problems that is being faced by a lot of girls in our country, and one of the contributing factors is a lack of information on sexual and reproductive health, inadequate access to services tailored to young people, peer pressure, forced marriages, and these other issues. Therefore, as a Youth Changing the Mindset organization, we have embarked on a Zero Teenage Pregnancy campaign where we have found schools and community, society, girls and boys as well as the parents about the impact that teenage pregnancy has on teenagers, as well as the importance of focusing on education as a young person. Therefore, as an organization, we are also calling upon the government, we are also calling upon traditional leaders, the teachers in schools, we are also calling upon other civil societies to come on board and work together so that we can be able to eliminate this issue, because it is affecting a lot of young people from becoming good future leaders of tomorrow. And as Zambia will be commemorating the Youth Global Day, we are also urging young people to celebrate wisely and avoid indulging in illicit activities that might result in teenage pregnancies.
Pupils at Chinzete Primary School in Rufunsa district of Lusaka province are learning in grass-thatched structures, and parents in the area have appealed to government to help them build permanent structures. And School Parents Teachers Committee PTC Chairperson Christopher Mwila and Senior Headman Chizete says government is doing everything possible to rectify the matter.
Chizete Primary School in Rufunsa district of Lusaka province. Pupils at this school learn from makeshift structures, and it runs from preschool to grade 7. Parents found quenching the fire that gutted one of the structure at the school have appealed to government to come to their aid.
Metinamanga ya mitengo hii inagwa na mvula, so bana balipe kupunzilira, so shametifuna munga yukwe makolo tufuna kuti goma itiyanganeko munga kumamangidwe ya skulu batitandizireko.
Tuyamika maningi kali government kamene inachita, government kamene inabwera kutuletea free education. So tupemba kuti free education tukaleko fitness school proper school ya kuti bana bafunzira bamvera bunoto tuli ku free education. So ndiye chikuru cha mtu tupemba kubomba kwa president tutandizire pano pa school pa Chizete.
School yetu ya Chizete Primary School yandira pa nursery up to grade 7. 2019, 2020 and 2021 ni wana wa school wachitabu na wasikia na wenzo kupasa kwenda kwa grade 8. Kwa mbili na mwezi regional administration is abura tunangire kwa school mamsanga msanga structure abu mtuime tuwana wa school tukareko change.
Pupils have also appealed to government to help them.
Zinanga ndine brand mwapendi grade 6 school yetu inago kwa Chizete pemba ko boma tutandizireko.
Chizete Primary School is among the many community schools that were upgraded to primary schools by the previous administration, but with no infrastructure. With the introduction of free education, these pupils and parents are now looking to government to come to their aid. Reporting in Rufunsa district, I am Msekiwa Ntende.
That's all we had for you this evening. For our news, let's look at the headlining stories once again. HH tells corrupt individuals to stop playing victim. National Biosafety destroys GMO goods worth over 136,000 kwacha. Golden Party bemoans the short of essential medical drugs in some health facilities. CK ECL's defamation case set for defense on 1st April 2022. And lastly, in our headlining stories, 33-year-old man of Mansa commits suicide after marital dispute. Thank you so much for watching. We still have our next news update at 21:15. A pleasant viewing. My name is Cholatisha.
The spending to bring more weapons into Ukraine, they are receiving all the refugees that managed to leave the countries and of the country, and of course a million or another million might yet come. So the prognosis is that up to 4 or 5 million Ukrainian refugees could come to the EU. They will do everything, of course, except this one thing that might really hurt Vladimir Putin. And yes, you said that public pressure for that is rising, but they're not ready yet to do it because they know it's going to hurt their own economies badly. They're not yet ready to cut off energy imports, oil and gas from Russia. And that fills Putin's war chest by about €1 billion per day.
Boarding a bus to safety, these refugees have just come out of the fighting zone northwest of Kiev. Daria has been on the road for hours.
We left everything there and just fled. I don't know whether we will ever be able to come back.
Irpin, a suburb northwest of Kiev, has been one of the worst hit places in this war. Ceasefires have been agreed and broken time and again. Just a few days ago, a family of 4 was killed near this bridge. They were shelled on their way out of the small town. This is one of the places that had been fought about for days. People have been sitting there, trapped, waiting for an opportunity to get out. Leaving behind what they could not carry with them, people have been fleeing in a hurry. Shelling can start again at any moment. Some have been walking for many kilometers before being able to cross over the bridge to reach one of the buses.
It's difficult and terrifying. The roads are destroyed. There's destroyed military equipment everywhere. Dead bodies lie around. We saw all this while walking. It's difficult for everybody, including old women. It's very frightening.
Many here have no idea where to go next. This kindergarten was closed after the war began. It's now hosting people who have led the fight.
Some arrive without even wearing slippers. Some come without a coat. There are some grandmothers who went out to fetch water and were evacuated because their lives were under threat.
Whole retirement homes have been evacuated. The refugees can rest here for a few days.
Everybody from our neighborhood left. A plane flew over us. Then it suddenly turned, dropped a bomb, and everything was on fire. Volunteers quickly evacuated us.
As evacuation of Irpin and other suburbs goes on, the kindergarten...
To say that we had to seek shelter twice this morning with air raid siren going off for the first time about 5 o'clock in the morning. Nothing happened here, but there were several explosions in Lutsk, north of Lviv, a 2-hour drive, and actually a city that we visited just a few hours ago. The Russian Defense Ministry acknowledged that they attacked an airfield there, and they also attacked an airfield in Ivano-Frankivsk, southwest. And this is, of course, as I said, very worrying, and it's also showing that the Russian forces might be intensifying their efforts to slow the flow of weapons and resources to the front line. We just consider that we have those announcements by the Russian forces that there are humanitarian corridors that can be used by civilians, and then we have those reports saying that the Russian forces are not stopping their attacks, or that they are even allegedly targeting the evacuation routes. And the Ukrainian president today in his video addressed that the two words, the humanitarian catastrophe, are now synonyms for the Russian Federation, and the situation is getting worse and worse, and we have to say that there are now Western security or military experts who are saying that this is the main goal of the Russian forces now, is to spread chaos and terror across So the Ukrainian forces are busy dealing with, helping. We just consider that we have those announcements by the Russian forces that there are humanitarian corridors that can be used by civilians, and then we have those reports saying that the Russian forces are not stopping their attacks, or that they are even allegedly targeting the evacuation routes. And the Ukrainian president today said in his video address that the two words, the humanitarian catastrophe, are now synonyms for the Russian Federation, and the situation is getting worse and worse, and we have to say that there are now Western security or military experts who are saying that this is the main goal of the Russian forces now, is to spread chaos and terror across the country. So the Ukrainian forces are busy dealing with, helping.
President Joe Biden has announced he's revoking Russia's favored trade status, meaning it can impose higher tariffs on Russian imports. He also said the U.S. would impose additional sanctions on individuals, including members of the Russian parliament, and ban export of luxury goods. And Russian President Vladimir Putin has advocated sending volunteers from abroad to fight against Ukrainian forces. Well, during a meeting of his country's Security Council, Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said there are 16,000 volunteers in the Middle East ready to fight alongside Russian troops. U.S. officials said these could include Syrian recruits skilled in urban combat. Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko met with Russian President Vladimir Putin for talks in Moscow. The leaders stressed independence and self-reliance in the face of sanctions from the West. Lukashenko has supported Putin's invasion of Ukraine and allowed Russian troops.
Kim, posing for peace, with the Kremlin looming in the background. Welcome to the world of cryptic Instagram diplomacy. The wife of ex-German Chancellor Gerhard Schröder posted the image on her social media account, seemingly confirming reports her husband was on a solo diplomatic mission to Putin's palace.
At the beginning of this, the Ukrainian side asked Gerhard Schröder to try and build a bridge to Vladimir Putin and to try to negotiate about possible conditions for a ceasefire or something similar.
News of the visit caught the German government by surprise. Attending a summit in France, the current German Chancellor distanced himself from the outreach. I don't want to comment, he told reporters. Even those within Schröder's party who have called on him to cut ties to Russia and his ally Vladimir Putin admit that all efforts to reach the Russian president are worthwhile. Let me put it this way, anything that helps to end this terrible war is welcome. We will see in the next few hours and days whether this works. In any case, I think that the talks that have just been started and are ongoing are sensible, first of all. With Schröder himself yet to comment, it is unclear to what extent, if any, his visit is aimed at brokering peace.
This is one of the few remaining routes from Russia to the EU. For many, their last chance to escape the impact of Western sanctions and the growing repression. Thousands have already arrived. The Finnish railway and Helsinki.
Only those with a valid EU visa are allowed to travel. People like this young woman, who left for Finland the day after the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. She does not want to be recognized and says she's devastated by events in Ukraine.
I'm crying and not sleeping since it's all started. That's how I feel. I'm pretty sure that I'm not going back. I'm not sure if I will be able to leave.